So Sam, Nick, welcome. You're both very experienced in the flexible workplace, particularly in relationship management side of things and the whole client experience. So Sam, if I hand over to you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your focus.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chief Customer Officer for Landmark and the Space, so both brands. So I cover the complete client journey from the point of sale, so my sales team, my operations team, my client experience team, obviously right through moving clients in, and then the end of journey when they leave us.
Yeah, and Nick?
I'm Director of Business Centres at BEOffices. I'm responsible for the operations, day-to-day ops, and also, I guess, client service excellence, but also delivery of our team's excellence to them internally. And I make no apologies, but I will apologise. In terms of customer service, I am a little bit old school before we go any further. So apologies in advance.
No need for apologies. We'll have that debate later.
Excellent.
So, I mean, hopefully there'll be time for questions and answers at the end of the session. So if we crack on with the questions and moving from that side of things, Sam, what's your take on the ideal balance between human interaction and technology on the whole contactless side within the industry?
Yeah, I think that's a really good and pertinent point at the moment with AI being at the forefront of everyone's mind. And I think the answer is there's no one size fits all. It really depends on your clients, it depends on the building. You know, we have a very different client base from building to building. So what might work in a really tech-led building wouldn't work in, you know, a private equity building in Mayfair. So, you know, I think, again, we're trying to base our client strategy on exactly what our clients want. So I think continuous feedback is really important and giving them the option. So you've got that, you know, if they don't want to come in and you know, be overly one-to-one with you, then, you know, what are the other options? And just being out there and knowing what's in the marketplace, I think, is important. And yeah, giving that option and, you know, making sure you're aware of what's going on in the industry. And I think just, yeah, you can't know your clients well enough. I think the more you interact with them, and the only way you can do that and get a lot of the anecdotal stuff that is quite hard to measure is face-to-face. So although they might want technology, you need to, you know, engage with them in many different ways in order to find out, you know, what technology actually turns them on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it fundamentally depends what your clients want and the product that you can deliver and choose to deliver. I'm, as I said, quite old school. I think it's a really difficult balance, and I think it's a wider issue in society, the balance between social interaction and tech. I have 3 teenage kids, so if somebody can tell me what the ideal balance is, please do. And I have a wife, so if somebody can tell me what the ideal balance is, please do. It's interesting. I think this room here is full of tech and outside innovators in technology in our field. And I don't think I've seen technology that doesn't work and isn't fit for purpose in our industry, and we're lucky. I think, as an example, in the outside world, and sorry to use this, but this morning on a very early train into Waterloo, you know, technology is supposed to make life easier and has to make life easier, and if it doesn't, why is it there? And interestingly, at Waterloo this morning, there was a huge queue, and I was trying to work out why it was so difficult to get through the barriers. And everybody's with their phones, with the QR codes, and they don't know which way. And then someone came along with this little orange thing called a ticket, and it was amazing. It just went through the machine. You went straight through the door. And there has to be a balance with technology that it helps us. It makes life easier. At the same time, technology is fantastic for the innovators in this room, certainly is in our industry, but you can't lose that human touch. I think we all get frustrated with companies that we may have contracts with that you simply cannot find somebody to talk to, and there is nothing more infuriating than when there isn't anyone to talk to. So I think there's a balance. I think also tech has made work from home much easier. It's made the impact of strike action on a Monday to Friday much less significant because people just work from home. But we have to give, as an industry, as operators, we have to start giving more people reason to come back to the office, which is where the client interaction, the face-to-face interaction matters. Because technology can't console, technology can't empathise, technology can't celebrate with you. Whereas as human beings, we can. And so, yeah, apologies again, but there is nothing better than human face-to-face interaction in the workplace. And ultimately, that's where we win as an industry compared to offices, other offices about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the feedback that we do gather, one of the quotes from our clients were that our team are our secret sauce. And yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? People come back, and I think it was Zach who said earlier that, you know, if you move a particular front of house or general manager to a different building, the clients are up in arms. They don't want that. They've got used to that person. So yeah, it's quite hard to find that with technology.
Absolutely, and look, it's the old thing with serviced offices and business centres particularly, but clients love to pretend that your staff are their staff, and that's a testament to the quality we all deliver.
Yeah, I think when I look at it from a size and scale perspective, we're much smaller. We have 2 flexible offices in Newry, halfway between Dublin and Belfast. So it's quite a small team. And I think there the technology almost empowers us as a team to be able to give that extra human interaction. It frees up our time. Because we would have quite a diverse member mix makeup. So sometimes they need a lot of hand-holding. You need those long-term relationships almost to build that interaction, but also anticipate their needs and what they're going to need going forward. So yeah, I think for me, from personally, it's quite a balanced viewpoint. What about, let's throw this out there, should there be some form of reception in flexible workspaces, Nick?
There doesn't have to be, no, and we operate certain buildings without a team on site, and as long as there's a relationship and a personable relationship beforehand during the onboarding, there's a great induction, there's constant communication. I think talking and phoning rather than emailing is important. Being extremely quick to react when you're not on site is extremely important. But for me, again, I just, as a hub, you know, even those times during, you know, when the pandemic was breaking out and everybody huddled around the reception watching a television, you know, remembrance on a Thursday sometime in November, you know, on the 11th, when people huddle around reception, there's a hub there. I think, you know, we've won business through people walking in and speaking to one of our receptionists. I'm sure we all have, and that matters. They're a focal point. They are kind of the machine of the centre in terms of chat. I think there is nothing better than when you walk in a building and somebody knows your name. They ask you, oh, how did such and such go at the weekend? You know, this is basic stuff, but absolutely matters to people, makes people feel valued, makes people feel important, and that's where we differentiate.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely, I'd agree. I can't imagine a time where we would not have some form of reception. So we're trying out at the moment, rather than having, you know, your traditional large reception desk, we've got more of a sort of podium. So as when people walk in, someone's standing or, you know, high up, so as their eye level. We are very much a human organisation, and we want the first thing that people do when they walk in our doors to connect with one of our people. We invest a lot of time and effort in training them. And again, you know, as I said before, the feedback on them is brilliant. And, you know, we need to look after our biggest revenue stream is our retention. So the better the service, the more people we will please, the more people will stay, and we will be able to yield more as well. So I think offering that service and that human contact definitely translates back to the bottom line as well.
I have to say, sorry, just to add quickly, I thought today was exceptional walking in this building. I came in and they were absolutely superb. There was somebody straight away to meet and greet, because I would probably stand for 10 minutes trying to work out the lift. But, you know, somebody came over, very personable, really helpful. And that matters. It really, really matters to me. And I would say the vast majority of our clients, it matters to.
Absolutely. I felt completely the same. I don't know this area that well. I used to work up here, but I haven't done for years. Came in with my case, didn't know whether there was somewhere for that. You know, those things really do matter, and they make a big, big difference. Have you any experience whereby you haven't necessarily got a reception, maybe you have a host as such, and there's been some sort of emergency? What would happen in those scenarios if you didn't have a reception?
Yeah, we had a situation 2 weeks ago, I think now, in our building in Victoria. Victoria Street had a bomb scare. Everybody was on lockdown for 2 hours. And again, I have to say, the police went to the 10, 15 buildings that were relative to this. And having a receptionist there, who of course, was concerned at first and worried, but the dissemination of the information to 40 or 50 clients in that building, and yes, of course you can do that through technology. Of course you can, I get that. But the dissemination was quick, it was empathetic, it calmed people. The communication was constant throughout the building through the mechanisms that we have to keep people updated, when they could leave, when they couldn't, or where they could leave by which exit. And to me, that really helped. It was a point of contact. And as I say, it was a difficult situation, but handled with empathy. And that was for me another eye-opener as to the importance of having somebody, whether they are a host or sitting at a reception desk, somebody as a focal point for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, for us, even though we've only a very small team, there's always somewhere if there's never anyone in the building, there's always somebody in the area. We're always on the phone, and people have that touch point. They know what to do in an emergency, and I think that is so key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in our industry as well, it's not just client experience. It's a full client experience. It covers the welcome, it covers the meet and greet, it covers the concierge service, it covers health and safety, it covers, anticipating clients' needs, which I think is quite unusual in that our clients spend, an entire week with us, we hope, each week. If anyone solved that Friday problem, then please talk to me after, because I'd love to. Yeah. I'd love to get our meeting rooms more booked on a Friday. But yeah, it is more than just that, smiling face when you come in. It's, they genuinely do help with their business.
It's almost like a family perspective as well. I mean, people have issues that rise up. A lot of them are long-term clients. They're there for maybe years. You get to know them, you get to know their family. Issues arise within the family, or maybe you've got a DIY project. Could be something really simple like you need contacts. Yeah. And I think that whole family atmosphere is a big thing as well.
Absolutely, and I think receptionists, hosts, our teams, they are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, marriage guidance counsellors. They're everything. And people need them for everything, even if it's literally just someone to talk to for 5 minutes every day, for somebody to have a little bit of appropriate banter with, then it all helps. I say appropriate. Thanks for laughing, Inga. She knows me too well. But yeah, again, it's significant in people's. It can make their day. That 5-minute contact can make somebody's day if it's handled correctly.
Well, I could tell a few stories about DIY projects that we've all been involved with, but we're running out of time. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Is the physical building as important as the service or the hospitality that the team offers?
I would say no. We've got kind of 3 parts to our business, I guess, at the moment. We've got the Landmark brand, which is kind of split into halves. We've got our legacy older buildings, which we know need some work and some investment, and they may not be beautiful, but they serve a purpose, and we have a great team in there. Then we've got our newer buildings that we are investing a lot into, that when we open them, it is really important how they look and feel, and it's very much been a journey to go from the kind of older brand through the story of what we're now offering. And then we've got our space buildings, which is slightly more cost-effective brand that looks different, but on a more sort of domestic lounge feel. So they're all very different, but the key through all of them is the service that people get. So, we get some of our best feedback and our best NPS scores from our legacy buildings, that if you look in there, they are not beautiful, they're not pretty, they're very basic, but they love the team that runs them. So yeah, that leads me to believe it is mainly about service. There are obviously some people that need that aesthetic look for their business, and that's what they want. But it's quite nice to have everything and know that you've got a team that can actually support in all 3 different scenarios.
Yeah. Again, sorry, but I agree. I think it's I'm all about people, all about customer service, but you can have the best people on site, but if you have no internet for 2 days, hypothetically, you're in trouble. If nothing works, you're in trouble. Design, the way that design has changed our industry is phenomenal. The way tech has changed our industry is phenomenal. But people are working different ways. Our teams need different things from us. For me, you can have, as you say, legacy buildings, a building that is in need of repair. It's not the prettiest, but you can have the best team in there that elevate that to a 5-star experience for clients. It doesn't have to be beautiful chrome, fantastic modernism. It doesn't have to be. It helps, but it doesn't have to be. And so it's finding that balance. What I would say, though, is I think sometimes we lose sight of what actually matters to people as well, and we can have these conversations, but get the basics right. Things have to work, things have to be replenished, the cleaning has to be good, all those things that people will take for granted, but should take for granted because they should be right. I think service recovery, I think Rika mentioned it earlier, service recovery is so important. Things go wrong. When you run buildings, we all run buildings, so many things can go wrong. It's frustrating. However, you need to have those systems in place, that communication in place, the processes in place in order to resolve those things quickly. Things go wrong, people accept that, but you need to be resolving them quickly, communicating quickly. And I think genuinely, and I'm sure most of us in this room who run buildings, operate buildings on the front line, will know that when people like you, and I know there's the old thing, I don't come to work to be liked, but when people like you, they're more forgiving. They give you more room. They will allow you the occasional mishap. They'll allow you, 5 minutes of an issue here and there because you give them so much that they are willing to concede that. And that's the kind of partnership that you want to encourage with all your clients. And sorry, last thing, I know we both feel the same about this, Sam speaking earlier and Suzanne as well, but we're very much that you cannot expect your frontline teams to deliver exceptional service if you are not delivering exceptional service internally to your teams. You have to be looking after your front line. You have to be looking after people. You have to be listening to them. You have to be caring. I think gone are the days of, you're coming to work, this is what you do. You need to be looking after people and delivering excellence internally in order for them to be delivering excellence to your clients. And I think that's an absolute given now.
I know it comes back to the whole talent, attraction, retention, and that's for both the team and your members. It's really the underlying, asking those deeper questions about underlying values, either personality, what sort of environments do they want? It's the basic questions really at a business level and an individual level, and really understanding what they need and then taking them on that journey, both the team and the members.
Absolutely. I think we all know, and again, all of us in the room as operators, if you've got somebody who runs a 10 or 20 person office, it's hard enough, post-pandemic, but hard enough with working from home, etc. It's hard enough getting them into the office. Give them a reason, as we all do, to want to come into the office. Have that electricity, have that sorry to use the word Gabby, but that community, have that family feeling. Give people a reason. If England are playing on television and losing in another quarter-final, put the telly on. Invite them down for a bit of food and some. Sorry, an England fan, shouldn't have said that. But make it easier for me as a business owner with a 20 workstation space in a building. Make it easier for me to encourage my teams to come in, and I think that's absolutely critical. And the best way of doing that, as we all know, is people, is having good people on the ground. Yes, people who are trained, but people who are recruited because they care, because they're naturally helpful, because they naturally are interested in people. And as soon as you're interested in people and care for them, the battles, you're halfway there. You're halfway there.
And I think those diverse cultures, certainly for us in the last year or so, we've got different backgrounds, different age groups moving into our buildings, and that's really helped the whole ecosystem and the energy, the vibe. People have, that the different energies to bounce ideas off of each other and just collaborate with.
Yeah, and going back to the original question about is it the building or the design or or the people, I think we also can't ignore the fact that people do want the amenities now, and it is very much, you know, when we're considering our new buildings, they are way more amenity rich than we have ever had before, way more lounge space, hot desking, meeting rooms, phone booths, all of that sort of stuff. And people now expect to have a gym in their office and all the things that we wouldn't have dreamed of like 10 years ago. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's a mix of both, but also looking after the experience throughout, regardless of the building, is key.
And I have a personal struggle in one of our buildings between spending time in the bar or the gym. I find it a real challenge, you know. But that's, you know, that's the luxury I guess we have. Funnily enough, it's the bar.
That whole hospitality partnership thing, that could be a whole different question, but it's just massive right now, isn't it? You'd be moving your suitcase in soon. But if we move on to the next question, we talked a lot around sustainability over the years. So if you focus on the net zero side, so your CSR, your ESG policies, how important are these to clients moving forward, do you think, Nick?
Massively important. I, for those of you who know me, can be a little bit cynical about things from time to time. I remember that it was either last year or the year before at conference here when we had a couple of corporates on a panel who basically said, you know, if you don't up your game, if you're not on board with us in terms of ESG, then forget it. We're not going to do business with you, because clearly for many corporates and SMEs and everybody, their supply chain is a huge proportion of their own emissions. So, you know, we have to be on board with it. We have to have at least a roadmap. I think our personal, I think Paris is 2050 carbon neutrality, but ours is 2030. We're lucky that we have somebody who spoke last year at conference who is kind of growing her expertise on the matter, and luckily, you know, she's had about 50 or 60 one-to-ones with clients who don't have the luxury of knowing what to do. They don't know where to start. So to have somebody that can sit down with them, plan a roadmap with them, turn around and say, look, this is what we're doing in our building. This is what as a company we're doing. So you can jump on the back of that. She offers advice to them. So yeah, I guess we're in a privileged position to have that we can offer that to our clients as part of a service. But yeah, my eyes were opened when that panel took place a couple of years ago, and you know, as a company, we've not looked back, and we can't afford to look back. It has to be the top of our priorities.
Yeah, and we find now that for the first time, probably last year, when you are viewing a client, one of the very first things they ask is, what's your CSR policy? What's the rating of this building? And yeah, so we've had to do a lot of work around that, and then, which isn't easy when you've got, like I said, you know, you've got the old versus the new. You've got your legacy buildings that you need a lot more work to do. But you know, the new ones are way easier, you know, super energy efficient, and slot right in. So yeah, it's definitely a real mix for us.
So how have you coped with those older legacy buildings? How do the potential clients generally view those?
Well, it's having a plan in place. You know, it's knowing when, you know, our target for net zero is 2040 at the moment, but we want to bring that forward to 2030. There's a lot of work that needs doing around that, but I think as long as you've got a plan in place and you can demonstrate the measures you're going through, then people are generally on board with that as well.
And when clients are asking you prior to moving in, is it more the corporates, the bigger teams that are moving in, or is it a range of scale?
It's a real mix. You have, you know, the younger startups are more generally aware of, you know, the environment. The average age is, you know, if you've got an under 30 team, then they generally know what we should be doing for the environment. But yeah, the big corporates have it as a standard as well. So you're dealing with, you know, both.
And is there an element, Nick, when you're asked around CSR, etc., is there more emphasis on the environment, the social impact, the local economy?
Oh, I would say for us particularly, environment. We have done a lot with local community, but I think our main emphasis is on decarbonisation, is on giving back, is on the environment, is on following those policies, is on, looking at where we can improve, where we have let ourselves down in the past, and what we can do individually and as a group of buildings to improve that and push ourselves forward. It's not my speciality. It's not my forte. It's something that luckily we have people on board who manage it. But it's hugely important. And interestingly, I think for large corporates, and I would never say any of this is a tick box exercise. It isn't. It's essential. But actually, I agree. It's the younger generation that clearly they don't see this as some kind of compliance. They see this as a passion, as a personal value, something that they want to insist happens. And so the whole landscape is changing in terms of our image of that as a priority. Yeah.
Okay. We've talked around areas of process in terms of the buildings earlier. How important are those areas of the quality management frameworks, processes, compliance, accreditations to your spaces?
Yeah, again, it goes hand in hand with the being able to demonstrate your CSI. We don't have any formal accreditation, but we do have an internal accreditation process and an internal policies that we follow and that we will share with our clients as well. And that is, increasingly more important.
Nick?
Absolutely. I think anything that's valued, that you're associated with, matters. Jane, I expect £50 in a brown envelope afterwards, but Flexsa logo, of course, clearly on your signature, matters. We have a code of conduct, a way of operating, a way of doing business together decently. That matters. We're, I believe, actively seeking B core status. It's a hugely long and complicated process. Luckily, once again, it's my colleague Julie that's heavily involved in that. But yes, it all matters as long as it's relevant and as long as you don't have, hypothetically, a signature with 500 different, you need to be selective. You need to find those that matter, those that will benefit, society, the environment, but you as a business as well, the most important ones.
Yeah, we put together our own quality management framework a couple of years ago. It was actually certified, accredited by NQA. And it's really helped, given the fact that we are a small space, it was really focused on those. It's actually freed up a lot of our time. As long as you're sticking to it and you're following it to the T, it has freed up so much time to spend that more time with clients and building relationships and partnerships.
And you'll find that's way more important as your business grows as well, because we were at a stage where you'd have silos of different buildings doing things lots of different ways. So it was quite hard to move people around and because the processes were different, but bringing that all together has made it so much easier.
And it's also made it easier in terms of the two-way feedback with teams, or three-way feedback, teams, members, and that whole interaction and the evolution of ideas, etc., and building on those.
Absolutely. Just one thing, if I can, we all do this, but we haven't mentioned it, and that's the importance of events. There's one thing I used to absolutely dislike, was walking into something called a networking session when you had to have your elevator pitch and hand over your business card, and it just seemed so unnatural. I think internally all of us have events. We try and build community, family through that. But it's such an easy and relaxed way of people helping each other, meeting each other, doing business with each other, introductions, etc. And that's a centre team that can facilitate that, adds huge value to individual clients. But I know we all do it, and all the operators in this room do events, but they are hugely significant and also breed their own sense of loyalty. Again, if you've got a team that doesn't want to leave a building because they like the events and they like the team, you're probably going to renew. You're probably going to stay in that building because you want a happy team.
Yeah, and finding other clients, working with other clients is hugely gratifying as well when they've connected over whatever event you've put on.
Yeah, it really is. That brings a big smile to my face when that happens. So I'm just looking at time now on question answer sessions at the end. Give me one or two takeaways, your thoughts on what we've discussed so far.
I think for me it's employee experience goes hand in hand with client experience. If you don't look after your people, they're not going to deliver the best service to clients. And in turn, it will damage your renewals, your retention, your yield, all of that. So it's so important to invest in your team before anything else.
Mm-hmm. Nick?
100%. I think the better you look after your team, the better they will look after your clients. And I think all of us would say that's a given. Can I have another two? Thanks. Get the basics right. Sometimes I think, people do overlook the basics, and you have to get the basics right. You have to make sure that things are replenished, are there, are clean, are tidy every day, every lunchtime, 3 or 4 times a day, whatever. And in terms of service recovery, again, we all know that a lot of people take for granted everything when things are perfect. However, you can breed loyalty through when things go wrong and how you deal with that, and that's hugely important. And one last thing, sorry, I know it says it's more than a welcoming smile, I get that, but I also don't think we can ever underestimate the value and power of a welcoming smile when you walk in a building.
Totally, yeah. And for me, it's the reason why I came into this industry. It's that sense of belonging. It is the human interaction. It's the nuances of the individuality, knowing those people inside out, to be honest, and what they need, anticipating what they need, and just building those long-term relations. So fantastic. Yeah. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
We have just over 2.5 minutes for questions, if anyone has any.
So Nick, you touched on ESG before, and sorry, I've just turned up later, so as I'm looking at the board, Sam as well. I know you said that your people are really important. And obviously, I suppose it's one of my kind of not pet hate sort of so much, but when people talk about ESG, they go straight into decarbonisation, planting trees, patting themselves on the back. They frequently miss the S in ESG. And as two of the bigger operators in our industry, I'd love to know what direction you're taking your businesses in terms of social governance, in terms of things like perhaps closing the gender pay gap or inclusivity and diversity. That's something that I really want to learn from today, generally.
Yeah, really good question. So we've got our first ever partnership with a charity this year with 3 years Calm, the campaign against living miserably, which was voted for by our people. And so that's really good. So a lot of our events raise money for our charity as well. Then what else are we doing? Sorry, what was the last part of the question? I've lost my train.
Just generally, where's the focus within your businesses for furthering your social agenda? Take it back to looking after your people.
Yeah.
I put myself in this bracket. I think this is an industry that's run by traditionally white middle-aged men. So,
yeah.
We've put a lot of effort in our business to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, our our ELT team, I'm part of that as a, obviously not a white middle-aged man. And yeah, we have our diversity policy as well. We have over 40% of our people are of other cultures. So, yeah. Nick?
Thank you. Firstly, I'd say I'm still clinging on to the middle-aged bit and proud of it. So that's one positive. It's a really good question. Things constantly open our eyes to better practice and best practice, and thank goodness for legislation, but equally things like the B Corp accreditation. When you have to actually look intrinsically, you have to. It's like open heart surgery of a business to be very critical about what you do. And we have been on that journey. I wouldn't say we're quite there yet. We've got a lot to learn. I would not pat ourselves on the back as a company and say, we are outstanding. No, we're not. We've got things to learn, but we are hungry and determined to certainly fulfill the things that need to happen. So yes, we're some way there. We've got a way to go. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that we're there. We're not. But we're certainly looking intrinsically at ourselves. I think we're not afraid to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, we're behind the curve here if we are, and we need to improve. So we're on a journey. Sounds a cliche, sounds like the X Factor, but we're certainly on a journey. We're getting there, but I think all these things, it's like having a vision. You never quite get there. You've got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing for change.
Have we time for one more question? No?
For me, fascinating. I mean, this for me is the biggest differential between what the flex sector provides against the traditional real estate world. It's not just about providing an amenity, a gym or a bar or whatever you want to put in there, or a cafe. It's about the personal experience. And I think staying one step ahead, this sector has always been one step ahead, and you've got to remain that one step ahead. Either it's personable, it's using tech or whatever else. I think it's absolutely imperative that's retained, and you understand the value that you bring, not only to your own operations, but where you're partnering with property owners as well. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, Suzanne, Nick, and Sam.
Thank you.
Last round of applause, please.
Thank you.